All right, the next thing we're going to take a look at is how we might, in the unit offices, be able to run what's referred to as an F report commonly, or a report of students that are failing classes. So the way we can do that is to go into reporting over here on the left-hand side and go into data viewer. All right, so I'm going to go into my data viewer, and you can see I already have one up here, so any of these reports that you're making, they will save. So let me just go and walk you through a new one. And I'm going to choose report. It's a student report. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give a name up here. Now these reports are, you can edit them. So if you wanted to, after the first progress report period, change it over to progress 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you can do that. Or you can make each one of those progress reports a separate report in Infinite Campus. So I'm just going to call this F reports. I've already done A to D, so what am I going to do now? E to K, and I will just call this, I'll just leave it as such. I'll make it to where I can edit it. Okay, so I have a name. I'm going to remove out the active today field. This just shows up by default. So I'll take that out for just a minute. And now what I need to do is I need to build my report so that it shows me the information about students that are failing. So the first thing I'll look for, you see we already have the student number and the student's last name and first name. I'm going to look for a term. So I'm going to go down into grading. So if I go right into here, I can see grading, grading detail, and I want to look for a term sequence. So as I go through and look at it, there we are, a term sequence. I drag and drop this field and I just put it over here on the edge. Okay, now these can be moved around, so if you accidentally drag and drop it in the wrong place, you can move these over. It's very similar to the way Microsoft Access used to be. The order that you put them in is the order that the report will show up in. So if it's really important that certain columns be in certain locations, you want to kind of fix that now. It can always be changed later too. So I've got a term in here. You can see right now it's showing me all these terms, and I could say I want it for just a specific term. We'll get to that in just a minute. After that, I'm going to go in here and look for period sequence, so that it shows me the period of the day in which the course is taking place. So this is term, this is period sequence. And again, these columns could vary a little bit for us once we fully get into Infinite Campus, so we may have to update the video to use different terminology, whether it's period name or period sequence. Once we have that, I'm going to put in course name so I know which course that they're failing. So we're building this report piece by piece. So there's my course name field. Then it would be nice to know what the name of the teacher is. So I'll say teacher display. So therefore we can get an idea of which teachers we may talk to. And then after that, we're looking for a progress period grade. So I'm going to scroll through here. Bear with me for a second as I look for it. You might have already found it. Here we go, progress percent. And again, progress periods are automatically updating as teachers are grading. So I'm going to drag and drop progress percent over here on the far right. And if I scroll over just a little bit, you can see there are already fields that are going to show up. Now this is the demo version of Infinite Campus, so you might see tons and tons of rows here. But right now it's just showing me these particular students. I can see I've got grades all over the place. So we're going to filter this in a minute to only show those students that are failing. So that should be all of the columns I need. I've got progress percent, teacher display, course name, the period, the term, first name, last name, and student number. All right, so now the way we filter just those students that are failing is we go up here where it says add new filter. And I'm going to go in here and first say which students, because as in these unit offices, you're working with just certain parts of the alphabet. So I'm going to say where the student's last name is between, and I will choose now letter E through K. So I'm literally filtering, and you can see that the alphabet now is filtering. This particular demo database only has students in this range of E through K in the E's. So now all those other students have been filtered out. And then I'm also going to say that I want to look for, from that group, I want those where the progress period grade is less than 60 in the failing range. And now if I do that and I scroll over, you can see I only have one student in that particular group that is failing. I'm going to then choose to save this report, because this is something I can run daily, and it will update based off of data that has changed. So if more students, unfortunately, were to fall into this failing territory, they would show up each day as you rerun the report or refresh it. And if students start passing and get into the passing territory, they'll come off your report. All right, so once I've saved it, I'm going to then, if I want, I have the option to choose print. And it is going to give me a report that looks something like this if I needed to print it off, or if I want to email it as an attachment. I've got the option up here to print, and then I've also got the option to save it. And you can see here, this is showing me here that this particular student here that has a score next to them in this part of the alphabet, they have a failing grade, and this particular student right here has a failing grade. Now, the reason why the rest of the students are showing up is because of the way the report's written. It says that it's going to show all the students in E through K and those that failed. So I don't really see the option to choose and, meaning they have to be in this group and they have to be in 60. It's really treating it more like an or scenario, where if they're in the alphabet or they are less than 60, they're popping up. So if I were to remove this field up here, then it's only going to show me the students that are failing, but it's not going to show me just those from the E through K range. So that's why I am continuing to leave that there so that unit offices can see just their students and those that are just failing. Notice that the way you can see which students you're kind of focusing in on are only those that have a score here, because the rest of these have been filtered out because they are above 60%. So we would just kind of focus in on those that actually have a number in place. Okay, that is the process of putting together a F report for unit offices.